Oh my one, it's a morning show. Good morning, Jason. Good morning to the watchers on Instagram Live. It's another week. It's another Sunday. How's it going, Jason? Good morning. I said good morning.
Good morning, man. It's going well. I got some good news, which I'll get into in a second. I saved. I didn't tell you before prior to us recording. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you know what it is already, but
maybe because we watch each other on social media, right? So sometimes it's kind of to keep secrets. I know there's a lot of stuff that I can't say on there, but it's the nature of social media. But
yeah, for sure.
Just want to say, of course, thank you for everybody who's been watching. I haven't been checking the numbers and who's like subscribers and likes and ratings on iTunes. Normally, we just do this for the fun, but it is if you guys are watching and if you guys are subscribing and reviewing, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Keep doing it. I mean, obviously that encourages us to continue doing this, but we do it anyway because we like it. I wanted to say this to somebody when we were talking about part of why we were doing this too. It reminds me a lot of, you're not a big Seinfeld fan, right?
No, I mean, I've seen episodes. Yeah. I like what I've seen, but yeah.
So I'm a huge fan, but I don't remember all the episodes that much either. But there is this one episode where Kramer finds a set to an old show, like a talk show called The Merv Griffith Show. And he takes it all out of the trash. It moves it into his house or his apartment, and he makes his apartment into a studio. And so when his guests come over, he has them sit, and he's just like got his papers and starts reading, and they're all like
that's hilarious.
It's not being recorded, it's just a show because he just wants to put on a show. And I'm like, that's how I feel. Like, I don't care if anybody's watching us. I like doing this. It's just a lot of fun. Especially the morning stuff, because we could definitely be a little bit more. I mean, there's nobody holding us to any rules as to how we do our stuff, but I like the format that we have going on right now.
Yeah, definitely like the topic episodes I feel like more stressed out about, but the morning show is always just like
fun. I mean, there's no reason for you to be stressed out.
I don't know.
You're not. I'm not quizzing you. I mean,
I know. I guess it's more like a preparation side on my part, or enough preparation.
For sure. No, that's true. Like, sometimes I do worry, like, damn, am I going to have enough to talk about because of this? I did have to warn somebody about the Game of Thrones ones. I'm like, look, it's going to sound like I'm pervy, but I'm not. I make really good.
You definitely sounded pervy. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's why everybody gets HBO. Come on. All right. Well, yeah, thank you guys for watching. We both had pretty crazy weeks.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying like it's a competition, but yours definitely.
Before we jump ahead, what's brew, bud?
That's true. Look, that's how far I'm getting ahead of myself.
Out of whack.
To be honest, it's been a lot of the same stuff. Yeah. I haven't talked about this one yet, but it is more dark matter. Dark matter, obviously from Chicago. But I ordered a bunch of stuff from them. Like if you're gonna order something, you gotta order a lot, to make use of the shipping. So this is the one that I sent it to you. I sent it to you before. I don't know if you actually got to taste it on live, but it's the bourbon aged or cask aged one. It's called Espiritu. Yeah. So it has that funky smell, but it smells like bourbon. It tastes a little bit like bourbon.
Is that the Tristero one, or?
No. This is Dark Matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is the one I sent to you before.
Did you?
I sent you this one, and then I sent you the Tristero one. The Tristero one didn't. I mean, it smelled good, but this one.
Oh, I guess I confused them because when I labeled the bads, I just put Tristero 1 and 2. I've already drinking all of it, but I was.
Yeah. And this is the one that tastes like bourbon. Yeah, this one tastes like bourbon. It's one of my favorite ones. In the beginning, I thought it was like one at like the most, but after a while, it's like, okay, I can't keep drinking this all the time because it's a very strong flavor, and it's been a while since I drank it, and now that I have it, it's just like, oh, it's so good, So that's really tasty. I did a French press of it. What are you drinking?
Yeah, so I'm just drinking some Cafe Bustelo. Nothing special, but I think it's a solid coffee. My buddy, I just moved out, which I'll get into in a second. And my parents had a Keurig, but my friend has a Keurig as well. I don't really like them too much because I know they're not great for the environment.
Really? Oh, because obviously
I guess the cups, like you can't recycle them. But they are super convenient. So I just yesterday when I went to the store and I bought a pack of K-cups.
Damn, dude! If I knew you were using that, I would have sent you. I have a reusable K-cup that you could actually put your own grounds in.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'll look into that then.
It's actually pretty cool. Easy. Like I had a Keurig, and then I don't think I ever used it because I didn't want to buy the K-cups, and I didn't really. This is right before I got into coffee. And I had that little thing, and I was thinking about giving it to somebody else too, because I was like, hey, I don't have one anymore. And but yeah, I figured it'd be useful. I mean, most of the time, like with those machines, even like the Mr. Coffee that I have, I don't have a Mr. Coffee, but it's the same thing. And they never have like the right temperature of water, and it's like it's always on that hot plate thing. So there's very like, if you want to have a good cup of coffee, you have to really be on there maintaining it, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know how it is with the Keurigs in terms of that. People love those things, but
it's convenience over everything, right? Same thing with the coffee maker, like you said. Like it's nice to have those things if you don't want to go. But like the French press is pretty straightforward and easy too. So.
Yeah. And Bustelo is, I mean, that's a classic. Like I know people used to like kind of dump on like just coffee in a can.
Yeah.
Like, in general, that's always been a thing. Like this has been for years. That's what people knew as coffee. And now it's like, but it's still like stood the test of time. You know, like people still.
It's a great coffee.
I mean, and I know there's this cafe that I used to go to. Well, I mean, one before all of this happened. I think it's like a Cuban cafe, and they're guys originally from Miami, but it's all they use is Bustelo for all their lattes and all that stuff too, and it's all really good. They make a really good Mexican mocha and some other stuff, but yeah.
Sweet.
So
you want to get into your week? You want me to start?
I guess I'll go. I mean, it was part of my cranky corner, but at the same time, it's like we'll get to it because it is part of it. But actually, let me go in the level of progression as things happen. I tried a new pizza place.
Okay.
And I think I posted it up online. It's from Triple Beam Pizza. The whole conceit of this place is that they sell you pizza by the pound kind of thing. So they cut pieces off and they weigh, and you're like, oh, give me this much, and then they give it to you. So it's always like in these little segments because they use the scissors to cut them off and give it to you. That was the first time I tried it. They've been here for maybe just half a year, maybe, or maybe even a year. I've never really been a big fan of the owners themselves. They just, I don't know, it's a typical like hipster. They own a bar, a couple of bars, a alcohol store, now this thing. They took, I think part of it is because they took over a spot that was an other pizza place that I really liked that went out of business. I really love that spot. It's not their fault. They didn't run them out of business, but they took over that spot. So I'm just kind of like, man, I miss that place. But the pizza's really good. I'm just surprised. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to hit something when you're just like, oh my god, it's so good. Fuck these guys, you know. But I ended up buying a bunch of movies. Like I think this whole week I just bought a bunch of digital stuff. So I think I mentioned I got online. I got Demolition Man. Then I bought the Indiana Jones quadrilogy. It's the only way to get it. Fuck it. Crystal Skull's in there too. And what was I think I just got a couple more. Oh yeah, I finally got Sonic the Hedgehog, which I watched last night. Okay. I watched it before the theater, but somebody sold it to me. And Birds of Prey, which I haven't rewatched since then. And that's just me because as a collector, I like to own all these things. And I share the account with my mom or my parents. So me buying these is because it's kind of an excuse, like, hey, Mom, I bought these movies so you could watch, but it's really for me. So they can't say, like, why are you spending money? It's like, because I want you guys to see it. And the big news is, as I mentioned in my Instagram, some asshole broke in, literally through here, this window. There's a fence to the next door neighbor, and there's a gate. And the dude, there's no way to jump over the fence because there's spikes coming outward. So he must have just like dug underneath the fence, like, because you could kind of pull it or janky through it.
Yeah.
And I heard the door open, and I'm like, what the hell? Because I was working, and I walk over here to the kitchen to see through the window, and I see some dude, like, that guy doesn't look like he lives here. And that's just like, the typical like street dude, is going. You know how they always seem overdressed because they have to wear all their clothes on their back, like they're wearing a winter jacket in the summer with their hats and all this stuff. And then he pushed through our building, like he got in. And immediately I look through the peephole, and he walks up and grabs my bike and starts walking off of it. Except he can't because I have a wheel lock. So, like, the back wheel is, like, skidding because he can't move. So he's trying to pull it, and I just yell through the door, and I'm like, get the fuck away from my bike. And I open the door, and I, like, run after him, and he lets go of it. And he starts, like, fast walking towards the front of the building. I'm like, don't ever let me catch you fucking jumping over the fence, motherfucker. And I just start going off on him. Like, I was, like, telling people, like, the Chicago came out. I'm just like, get the fuck out. I'm like, we don't call the cops around here, motherfucker. Like, we'll beat your ass. And then, like, I think.
Did you say that?
Yeah. And then, because it's not the first time we've I mean, I haven't chased anybody else. This is my first time chasing somebody off here. My neighbors have chased somebody out from the basement who broke in and started stealing the quarters from our washing machines.
Uh-huh.
And her and her boyfriend had been drinking that night, and they heard him, and they went down there with like sticks and shit, and they're like, "We're gonna fuck you up," and they ran that guy off, and it's like, yeah, it's some different dude. And then like the building manager heard, and she's like, go. She was telling her boyfriend who also lives with her, and she's like, go on, check it out, what's happening, because it's like somebody's yelling in the building. And then I immediately like go back inside, or like I take my bike back. He couldn't have gotten far with it. Like there's no way. Like if it was a real bike thief, they're probably parked out front and they just dump it in a truck and they take off. This guy was just gonna ride away with it. No way he would have gotten away with it. But I mean, if I wasn't there, he probably would have given up because there's no way to move it, you know.
Yeah, when I've been hopping on the bus, you know, because like I'll bring my bike out, but then I kind of live far west now in the city, so like when I'll just throw it on the bus. But now like I'm just worried that someone is just gonna take it off the bus rack, you know.
Yeah.
So I always like lock the wheel to the frame just so like if someone does steal it, they're not gonna be able to ride it away. They're gonna have to walk it, and by that time hopefully.
That's another thing too. Like I used to think about that, but I'm like, I guess you kind of have to sit towards the front if you can to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and it's weird now because you know they have the front blocked off.
Right.
You have to go in through the side of the bus, which is nice because now it's free in Chicago. So
yeah,
that's a bonus.
I think also like I don't have I do have a chain somewhere, but I don't have it on this bike, so I can't actually chain it around anything. So normally when I make stops when I'm riding around in the city, I just lock the wheel. And then leave it like that, and then go do what I got. But I never spend a lot of time. I just go to pick stuff up, you know. So I know, like, if I want to
not away from it for a long time.
Yeah, if I'm gonna do some, or either that, and I also kind of position it in a way where I can look out the window and still see that it's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy, but I think it's put me on edge the entire week just because every time I hear a sound now, I'm just like, someone's breaking in, or like if it's just the neighbors walking in and out from the back, you know, it's just like, who's out back? And it's like, oh, it's them. I don't want to be like, neighbor, like, who's back there? But it's like, I'm like, yo, somebody busted in. I'm like worried, you know. And now I'm like, I have my bike inside the building, so it's like, what else do I got to do to keep this secure? You know, like it's not tied to anything. Like I know a lot of people. I used to have a bike in the back that was chained up, but it just got rained, and you know the elements hit it, and it just kind of rusted up. And I have a bike hook in my room or my apartment that I had my other bike hanging on the wall, but it just took up a lot of space. And I said, you know what, fuck this. I'm not going to take up space. I'm just going to leave it in the hallway because nobody.
Yeah, I have my bike. It's right next to me actually in my room.
Yeah. And I mean, it is convenient, and obviously that's the safest way to keep it. And if it comes down to it like that, I might have to do it again. But yeah, I just been like that, and it's just the anxiety kind of rose up afterwards. But I mean, I went back out yesterday on a bike ride and stuff like that. So. That was my week. Oh, and then I ended up getting some more additional work from some old friends that needed help. So that's actually very nice.
Yeah, some freelance gigs.
Yeah.
Or gigs.
I think I mentioned to you it's like some under the table stuff, which is always great.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't say it live, but yeah.
I guess like transitioning to the bike stuff. So yeah, I mean, I moved out this week, which it's been cool. I've had a little bit of trouble sleeping since I got here, but anyway, before I moved out, I fixed my bike because like I've actually had really bad luck with my bikes. Some of them, I mean, a lot of it's like fault of my own. Like I've gotten a bike stolen when I was at a pizza place, but that was my fault because I didn't lock it up. I just kind of left it out front and didn't even watch it. And then the last bike I had just got stolen from the CTA. But there was the bike I had before that, they stole the back wheel, which sucks, right? It's the most important part of the bike is the back wheel, obviously. But I fixed my bike because I got a flat on my new one. And so I just switched out tires. So I finally started, you know, I moved out for the purpose of working for Uber Eats so I could start making money again. And I actually started bike delivery this week, which has been cool. Like it's a lot more efficient. It's a lot less taxing on my body. So I thought.
Yeah.
So Thursday I went out And it was fine. Like the bike's not set up the way it should be. Like I don't have a bike rack and a place to put the food. So like if I ever get an order that involves a drink, it's just a total pain in the ass. But I'm like, let me do it anyway, just because I can make more money. Um, so I did that Thursday, and I spent like the whole day doing that, and I was pretty tired, like
Just
halfway
riding
through my
around.
day. What was that?
Just riding around.
Riding around and doing deliveries on
Yeah, yeah.
Thursday. So, and I just did that, and I took a little break like around 3 or 4, but like my body was done at that point,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
still worked for a few more hours.
How many would you say, just really quick,
Uh-huh.
compared to like your walking deliveries, how many more
Yeah.
bike deliveries can you do?
I don't know.
I mean,
Because,
is it significant? Is it a significant amount more? Like I'm
well, like
making way.
Wednesday I started, and I felt like I was flying through them. Like I felt like I was easily able to do like 3 to 4 an hour. And
Mm,
with walking, it's like 2 to 3. So it's not
that's
much more
pretty
of a
good.
difference, but
No, that's still
it
pretty
just
good.
felt a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. I would say like
Uh,
the guy yesterday, really quick. I ordered some food
mhm.
again, and it said the guy was on a bike.
Yeah.
Literally had. I mean, when they showed up, I'm like looking for him, and it's his girlfriend driving a truck with some
Uh,
bikes in the back, and him on the side coming out with the food. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
then what the hell took you so long if you're still driving?
Maybe well, I mean, I know they have like there's people who do that. Like, cause you could say like, hey, I'm walking. And then some people do it where like, oh, I'm walk delivering, but I'm really on a bike. But like
Oh,
they track it like via speedometer, like they know how fast you're going. So I heard if you do that, they'll warn you at first, and then if you keep doing it, they'll ban you, and then you won't be able to use the service to make money again. So it's like I'm not risking it. Sometimes I'll be walking, I'll be like, oh, let me just hop on a bus to go down the street.
yeah.
But it's like they're gonna know, and then I'm not gonna be able to make money. So it's like there's no way I'm gonna do that.
Right, right.
Uh, but yeah, so I worked all day Thursday, and I get home and I make some food and sit down to watch The Last Dance because I got to finish the last few episodes. Which we are eventually, I guess spoilers, we
Hopefully
are
soon.
eventually gonna
Yeah.
do an episode about that series. Uh, but yeah, so like I sit down and my chest starts feeling weird, like just my breathing just feels like labored, and then eventually like my heart is like
Uh,
elevated heartbeat or like
uh,
palpitations. I mean, palpitations is like that's something that I had before. Like I tried to go keto a few years back, and so your body like transitions. So I guess it doesn't have enough electrolytes. So it was just I had an irregular heartbeat, and that freaked me out when I was on keto. So I'm like, I'm not doing this.
mm,
um, so it wasn't like too similar to that. It was just kind of like it felt like my heart was just beating out of my chest. So I'm like, all right, this is not good. And I know that's like COVID related, like
yeah,
with
yeah. Labor,
breathing
yeah.
issues,
Respiratory issue.
respiratory issues. Yeah. So I just went to bed. Hopefully I feel good in the
I was freaking
morning.
out too, man. I was like,
I
cool.
was worried, dude. So like
Yeah.
I woke up in the morning and I'm like, I feel like shit. So I called, I don't have insurance. So I called a few hospitals and I called the hospital just to describe my symptoms and uh they gave me information for this center that's affiliated with them that kind of gets cheaper,
Mm,
healthcare. And also they had COVID testing. So like I called this place and the lady's like, well, we don't have you. It's by appointment, obviously. They're like, we don't have testing until next Friday. So I suggest you go to the ER, which like I looked online and that's everything online was saying if you have these symptoms, which is the
right.
symptoms I was having, you should go to the ER. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go. So like I went there and I was like freaking out. Like
Yeah.
I was texting Christina, like being like, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help being in that setting. Your anxiety kind of goes through the roof.
Yeah. And so like I went I'm on my way there. And the little side tangent, I used to work at a place called Pachugo. It was a gelato shop. And they had a poster, which was it was like a weird poster that said now taking last meal requests. So it was like
The Chugos had that poster?
yeah, it was a poster about how good the gelato is that you would have it for your last meal, but it's a reference to capital punishment and the death penalty. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
why do we have this poster hanging up on our wall? Uh, but anyway,
Funny.
so the reason I'm saying this is like if I had a last meal request, it would be Popeyes. So I went to Popeyes. I went to Popeyes before I went to the hospital, and I had a chicken
What?
sandwich.
I can't imagine eating like high what do you call it? Highly saturated, polysaturated, whatever all that shit is. This would be good for you.
No, to be honest, it made no sense because whenever I eat Popeyes, it makes my chest hurt. So like, why am I gonna eat? Why am I making this situation? I don't know why I did it.
You get spicy or what? Or is it just what?
I don't know. I guess it's
not that I would say like that their
food's
never that spicy anyway, but I'm just curious.
Just whenever I've eaten there, I've always had that happen. So
yeah.
Anyway, so I finally get to the hospital and I got a bunch of tests done, chest X-rays, EKG. They monitored my heartbeat. So it's like my heart felt like it was beating out of his chest, but then my heart rate was normal. So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then I asked them about the COVID tests. So yeah, they gave me a saliva test that came out negative, and then everything that they tested looked good. So eventually, they gave me some acid reflux medicine and then some medicine for anxiety, and then they sent me on my way. But like they did like a preliminary test and a secondary test, so I had to wait a few days to get those results. So the good news is, like 20 minutes before we started recording here, or like about an hour ago, I got a call from the hospital. And they said the other test came out negative too. So
cool.
I'm good.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah, so I mean, I got home that day. I rested. I got home around 4 o'clock. I slept that whole night, woke up at midnight, and just kind of stood up for a bit, made some dinner, and then went back to bed. So it's like, I don't know. Ever since I moved here, I've been having trouble sleeping. But luckily I haven't the last few days. So I think it was just, just general anxiety because I do have anxiety.
Yeah, I think it's just the whole thing about like moving. I mean, I think a lot of people are having that same kind of anxiety of like moving during a time of pandemic. Like some people are taking it with stride, like, oh my god, I actually did it. And I feel like what better time to do it when there's like nobody around. You can just kind of move in and whatever. But at the same time, I feel like it's just a lot of subconscious stuff. Right, that's kind of manifesting in a way that you don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, it was scary because like my body never felt that way, but I think it was just a mixture of the anxiety and then not sleeping well for a few nights, and then also overworking myself. So I'm just like, I'm getting up there to the age where I need to be like more cognizant and more aware of like how my body feels and don't push it if I don't need to. So I'm gonna be more careful about that. But it went away and everything's good. So yeah, I'm a lot happier. I'm hearing that news, I'm a lot less stressed out now.
For sure. I'd say like it's kind of weird too. Like I think after I had my nose surgery, like I became super paranoid and anxious about doing anything. Like just because when I had like that emergency rupture in my nose where I just wouldn't stop bleeding. And then having to go to emergency surgery for that. After that, it just kind of left me feeling like super vulnerable, like in the sense like, oh my God, this could happen at any time. Like I have to be super careful. Like don't go outside maybe because if it's too hot, it might trigger it. Or if it's too cold, it might trigger it. If it's too dry in here, it might trigger it. And every little thing just kind of set me up. Like I can't do anything. I can't go out and do anything because if I go exercise or something like that, it might happen. Or I don't know what will happen. So for the longest time, I think I was just kind of, it's like they say, like living in fear, just I got to be careful. I can't do this. I'm like, I'll never be able to travel again. I don't know. Nobody ever said I couldn't. No one ever said, but I figured the pressure of being in the cabin of flying will probably fuck my nose up. Like, I don't know, it'll burst something inside because of the pressure. And it was just all these things that I was making up in my own head. But I mean, but it all manifested in a real anxiety. Even prior to that happened when I used to just kind of do just normal. I like hiking, so I would do normal hikes and I would get myself winded, and then just feeling my heart rate getting so elevated that I would think that I'm like having like some kind of attack, and it would be an anxiety attack, and I'm just like like oh my God, and then Kirby's just like walking around me like just chilling, and I'm like I gotta sit down, and I'll sit down and try to chill out, and it won't go away, and I have to close my eyes and like almost like force my body to fall asleep in a way to just like shut down so you don't crash.
Yeah.
And then now, like after 2 years ago, like I decided to go to Hawaii, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go do it. And I did it, and I had no issues. Went swimming in the ocean and had no issues. I think the salt water was actually really good because I used a lot of saline solution for the nose.
Yeah.
And then I started doing like all this other stuff, like going on the bike a lot gets my heart elevated to that point where I used to get really anxious, like my heart's going crazy. But then I just keep going and I just push through it. I'm like, that's what it is to be an athlete, I mean, like exercising, like you just push through it until you get better at it, and it becomes normal, I guess. So, I mean, eventually, like, I'm not saying that you're not going to be able to do that stuff that you think you can't do.
Yeah.
It's just you slowly got to work your way up to it.
Yeah, I rushed into it basically. So it's like,
Yeah.
I was waiting to get these results before I get back to work, obviously. And so I think I'm gonna just do the walking thing for now, especially like my bike's not ready, and that just kind of it just adds like a bunch of like minor irritations that make it harder to deliver. So I'm just gonna do the walking for now until that's ready.
I mean, I look
the one. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I remember looking at pictures of like I think it's like Hugh Jackman or whatever during the X-Men movies. It's like Hugh Jackman at age 40 and he's like all ripped, and I know it's all like, like it's nutritionists and trainers and stuff, but I'm like, hey, if he looks that good at 40, I could still look that good at some point, or at least be that energetic. I know it's like a pain in the ass to keep up that kind of regimen, but I just know that like we're not that old, we're not dying. We could still be at our best right now. Is all I'm saying. I know.
I don't know. I'm iffy on that as far as like my body. Like I'm like, oh, what if I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna get dark there. But I mean, the one cool thing is when I was biking. I mean, it was annoying with the whole mask thing, right? Because you can't use your iPhone, but they updated it now where you can you could do face unlock with a mask on.
Really?
So yeah.
What do you do?
It's pretty cool. I don't know. It was just part of an update that they did. So my God, this is so annoying. I got to type the number in. What was that?
Do you have to redo the facial mapping?
No, I'm sure it's like less secure. Yeah. I didn't have to do anything. Like when I went out Thursday, I was looking at my phone and it was unlocking. I'm like, why is it unlocking? So I texted my roommate who owns the place, and he's like, yeah, they updated it, and he showed me like the screenshot of like the different things they changed. So yeah, they have mask unlock now for the iPhone. So
cool,
sweet.
Yeah, totally.
Makes life a lot easier. I mean, it doesn't work 100% of the time.
Put this in. You still have to put the passcode in. It's annoying.
Yeah, especially like if you're on a bike or I'm walking, so I have a bag in my hand and I gotta.
Yeah. Actually, I want to show you
annoying.
Really quick. I'm moving all this setup. Oh shit! And it did fall. I did get a new mask. We're living in a culture where you can't just have one mask.
Yeah.
And it can't just be like this disposable one. So I've been buying like a lot of different ones just to test them out. So I got this new one. It's from Rafi Nova, and it's supposed to be like a performance one. See how it has this little valve here? So you're supposed to be like run with it, and like it's basically you're supposed to be anti-fog. So when you're wearing sunglasses, regular glasses.
Okay.
And these actually have like it's a 3-layer, has antibacterial layer in the middle.
Okay.
So it's kind of
good. Where did you get that?
Huh?
This is from a friend, you said?
No. This is like from a website called Rafi Nova.
Okay.
It also has like these little toggles to like tighten it around your.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And it's cool, but it doesn't anti-fog. I was like trying to do it. I was using it on the bike yesterday.
Stop trying to wear your cool shades, man.
Well, it's like.
Do you need those, or are you just wearing for the look?
The goggles?
Yeah. I
mean, the reason I wear them now, besides the fact that we all know, like, I mean, I'm not that paranoid about the fact that COVID can get into your eyes, right? Like,
Okay.
It's but I mean, at the same time, while I'm out there speeding around, there's either smoke or just dust, because there's a lot of dust out here. It's just kind of like sands and shit blowing around. So it kind of keeps it from like getting in, because I've biked with just my sunglasses, and it's just like the shit still flies in my eyes when I'm like cars come racing by and they just like throw up like grass or whatever, and it gets in my face. So I thought at first I was like, this is just kind of a thing, like I'm wearing it because of the whole pandemic thing, so it looks kind of funny. But now I'm just like, and the ones I have aren't even that great, so I might actually invest in like a slightly better pair of goggles, just because they just have foam on the side and they're already kind of worn out. So,
okay.
But either way, like you'd think because they're so suctioned on your face that nothing would get in there fog wise, and it still does. So it was super annoying because obviously you're wearing goggles and you're like. Like the kids. So
I was wearing one of my masks the other day, and I was having an issue where I could feel the air like coming up. I mean, I wasn't wearing glasses or anything, but it's still annoying when you could feel like that.
Yeah, and they say like there's like the Kleenex trick, right, or whatever. You just kind of fold a piece of tissue paper right over the edge. like inside, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to fog this up. But I mean, that's more shit to have in your face, you
Yeah,
know?
it's already kind of hard to breathe with
Yeah,
the
I
mask
actually, the
sometimes.
funny thing is, I think when I took off yesterday because I took Kirby to get groomed,
Hmm.
I wasn't wearing the mask on my ride out. Like I'm already on the bike. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to put my mask on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, like it's only like 7 minutes away. I go there and I forget to put the mask on to go inside the groomer, and it even says there must wear a mask to go in. But the guy
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah.
He knows me. Not that it's okay. And then by
Hmm.
the time I hand it over, he put his mask on when he goes back inside, and I'm like, fuck, like should have done. And I put it on after I get out and then do all my stuff. Yeah, it's still kind of hard to remember, like.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
yeah, everywhere here, like if you go into a place, you have to wear one. So, I mean, there was only one time where I went to Target and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to take that out of my pocket. Because like I do, like
yeah,
if I go into a place and I'm just gonna be walking a few blocks to another place, I'll just take off my mask just for a second, just for a
yeah,
bit, just because it's hard to breathe, and I know I'm not gonna be around people. But then,
right.
when I get closer to my destination, I'll put it back on. But obviously, you don't want to be doing that too much because you don't want to be touching it
Yeah, yeah,
all that
exactly.
often.
Hmm.
Uh,
But I see people
yeah.
running, and they're like, obviously they say, well, we can't breathe that well for running. But I'm like,
Mhm.
you're all like, and it's like, it's like I don't know, go run get a treadmill or something. I don't know. It's
Get
a
a
hard thing
Peloton. Yeah.
to maintain. But so I mean, I feel like I'm gonna transition to like cranky corner. What's pissing me off, and I always
I
see
mean, we can. Like my first one actually is people who wear their masks wrong, because
yeah,
I've
yeah,
been seeing it a lot. There's this funny meme out there like with all the different ways people wear it incorrectly, but the one I see most often is people who wear it and have their nose hanging out. And I
hmm,
understand it's like it's hard to breathe, but it's like, well, what is it? What is the point of you even having it on? Especially like when I get on a bus and I'll see people who do that. And I don't even think like even though the restaurants are a requirement, the buses aren't. So
oh,
like
weird.
they have signage
Yeah,
saying
but no one's
saying it.
enforcing it.
Yeah, well, there was one time where I was on the bus and a guy's at the side door and the bus driver is not letting him in. And I'm like, why is he not letting this guy in? And then the guy like yells at me. He's like, does he have a mask on? And I go look, and I felt like a fucking narc or whatever.
Uh,
I'm like, nah, he ain't wearing one. She's like, all right, I didn't open the door for him.
no, that's good, man. Fuck that.
I
Yeah.
was happy about that, but there's other drivers who aren't, enforcing it. So,
One thing I wanted to say too is like I think it's pissing me off is that people are still a thing that I'm cranky about. Outside of the fact that I was bike thieves are bad anyway. I don't have to
for
be
sure.
frank about that.
Hmm.
Um, the people are still gathering. People are gathering now. Like they're meeting up and hanging out, having like these get-togethers where they're not really maintaining a social distance,
Yeah.
radius. And actually, I was watching somebody's Instagram stories. They live out here in LA too, and they went to like those typical underground Fast and Furious drag races things. There's a shit ton of people hanging out around their cars. No one's wearing masks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I would fucking call the cops on these people. Like, these are the fucking morons that are going to be spreading this shit around.
Yeah.
They're just all out there. I don't think I saw anybody with a mask, like, and it's on this, it's like, these things take place in these industrial areas. So it's kind of far out there, but there was so many people there. You'd think it was like a festival. Like
Hmm.
everyone was out. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? I'm like, and also it's like, fuck you for thinking you guys are cooler than us, that you could do this. And I have to still go out there with the stigma of like, no, I don't want to get sick. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
like, and it's such
my
a
friends, I do
simple
when I
thing
hang
to
out.
do. It's just
Yeah,
like, just throw a mask on your face. It's just,
exactly. I mean, if you're gonna do something stupid, at least try to protect yourself. I mean, even if you're not gonna do,
yeah.
I mean, like when I was riding my bike up here, and I mean, I feel bad for saying this. I mean, I didn't say it out loud. I'll yell out comments every time I'm riding my bike. But I saw these three people, these older men, walking together, hanging
Hmm.
out, and just like all shaking hands and stuff like that. And I'm like, y'all gonna get sick. You're gonna get sick. Like that. Just like ride by or somebody else. I'm like, oh, lady don't want to wear a mask. You don't want to wear a mask. Like I just start yelling this shit out. But it's just like
Uh-huh.
really like you guys are like the ones who are gonna get or like not get sick. You're gonna die if you get it because you're fucking old.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I actually tell my parents about that. I mean, they do what they have to do, but I'm sure there's a segment of people who is like, when I get sick and I die, like maybe it's my time. Especially like, yeah, because I've seen plenty of like old people and they're not wearing anything, and it's just like, you're the ones who are more likely to pay, dire consequences for it.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
For the Brostradamus prediction of the week.
Do you have any more Cranky Corner stuff though, or no?
Actually, I was thinking about. I did have one other one, but now I can't.
I have one more thing, which I haven't even done it, but and it's first world problems, but pre-ordering stuff online. So now, like a lot when you go and buy stuff, like you buy a T-shirt or a special edition of something, just the fact that you have to pre-order it now. So it's like you order this thing and you have to wait like a month or two before you actually get it.
This isn't a new concept.
It's not a new concept. And I mean, there's positives to that because I like the idea that, they have this pre-order thing so they don't have to produce more than necessary. Like, I like that idea of it. But when it's something I want, it's like, for me, it's detrimental to me actually ordering an item because I know I have to wait.
Yeah.
But there's probably a bonus there if it's like you order something and you totally forget about it, and then one day it shows up at your house and it's like a nice surprise that you forgot about.
Like, especially now that they're not pre-orders, but I've been ordering a lot of patches, so many that I could forget. I have to go back, like when they arrive, I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I ordered this. And then I remember and I go back to check. I'm like, whoa, I did not get this yet, and it's been a month. Like, I can't believe I forgot to check in. And I'll email them and be like, yo, where is my patch? And that's another thing I would say that I'm pissed off about. First world problems too, about like shipping stuff out. Is like, I remember bugging somebody saying like, hey, I ordered this like 3 days ago. I would say like, I ordered this 3 days ago. Like, why hasn't this shipped yet? And then one of the guys was like, oh, I don't know if Etsy told you, but it takes me 2 to 3 weeks for me to ship stuff out. I'm like, 2 to 3 weeks? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you sewing these by hand? And I'm like, fine. If that's the policy you have, fine. Yeah. And then 2.5 weeks pass. I'm like, dude, this is bullshit. Then it's not 2 to 3 weeks. It's over 2 weeks. You're already at 3 weeks. Why don't you just say 3 weeks? And I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just going to give him a bad review. Even if he says, like, this is my policy, like, that's a stupid policy. Why you like, if your job is just to make these things, to print these out, there should be no excuse that it takes you almost a month to ship them out. Yeah. First world problems, like I said.
Yeah, now I'm not, like how stressed I was about shipping you that care package, but then I ordered those boxes from USPS, so now, I mean, most of them, I left most of them at my parents' house, but I used a few of them to move some of my stuff here. Mm-hmm. But now it's just like, it's not going to be stressful because I have these boxes and they're ready to go. So whenever I decide to send people,
that was funny when I sent you that.
It'll be a lot easier.
The link of the. Oh, are you there? Oh, did it freeze?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, no, because it froze up on my Skype really quick. When I sent you that link about the new Malort edition that they're doing, I think it was Revolution. I was like, I hope he doesn't think like
the anti-hero with Malort.
Yeah. I'm like, he's probably gonna think that I'm gonna want him to get it for me. I'm just like, but I just want to show it to him. But I didn't say anything. I said I'll get it. Yeah, no, but my prediction, Brostradamus prediction is. This is one that I've had for a while that I thought would be pretty cool. This is actually a pretty neat idea, I think, that I should probably trademark it. It's called Bar Tab, and I feel like in the future we're just gonna have this kind of like universal type. I wouldn't say it's a currency, but it's a universal way of paying. At any bar you go into, you don't gotta take your card out, pay cash or whatever. It's like you're just paying straight out of your bar tab. So it could be like, it's almost like Apple Pay. And you just kind of do that. Actually, it's probably the same thing as Apple Pay. I don't even know why. It's like, this kind of destroys. I forgot Apple Pay. You could do that. You could just attach a credit card and just do that, because you don't want to have any contact. Giving your credit card, giving money for people to touch stuff. So I feel like as soon as you walk into the bar, either it's facial recognition or something that they know it's you, or maybe it's even a chip, and they automatically know what you order on there, and you just get charged and you just walk back out. It's kind of like that Amazon thing. You know how Amazon has those stores where you just go walk in and pick everything out and just walk? That's how it's.
What are they called? Like Amazon Go or something?
I think it's like Amazon Go.
Yeah. They had one in the city. I never went, but.
Oh, they do? I don't think I don't know if there's one over here, but I feel like it's.
I'm not interested. I mean, it's a cool idea, but it's just it's a place where there's cameras everywhere. Speaking of cameras, fucking my buddy Chris who owns this place, he has those Ring cameras on the front and the back door, and he also has one like in the living room. Not really a fan of all that spying. But like whenever I leave the house, I turn it around and give the front door one a middle finger. So he got a screenshot of it. It's just like, I mean, whatever. Like it's your house. I mean, they definitely come in handy, especially when you see like those fucking package thieves and everything.
He's living alone. If someone breaks in, see what's going on inside the house. I get it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand the need to have those things. All
right, so moving on to what we watched. We're almost nearing the hour mark here. I know we could always restart it, but
we've been going long lately. Hope you guys have been enjoying it because we have been releasing longer podcasts. But
yeah, I mean,
I like longer podcasts.
We'll fluctuate depending on the subject, obviously. For sure. I mean, but for the morning show, we do want to try to keep it within the hour, so we don't have to keep restarting anything like that.
Yeah.
But you want to go first and say what you watched this week?
Yeah, and by the way, those watching on Instagram, there is a 1 hour time limit, so we might have to go offline and then go back live again. So I'll let you know if we end up having to do that. There's no timer yet on it. So.
And remember that when we're live, you guys can send us questions on Instagram Live. Feel free to just ask us anything as we're talking about the films or anything else we've been doing previously with all the podcasts. And thanks for commenting on the YouTube videos as well.
So I was thinking, do you want to like alternate for this, just so it's not like one person talking forever? Go for it. I'll start. The first thing I watched was a documentary on Shudder called To Hell and Back, the Kane Hodder story. So Kane Hodder is obviously the guy who played Jason Voorhees, starting with part 7 of the Friday the 13th movies. So I mean, it's a pretty good documentary about his story. He talks a lot about growing up and being bullied, which is pretty emotional stuff that he talks about there. But then, he eventually became a stuntman, and he had this like horrific accident where he was on like a local news channel and just trying to show like himself getting burnt, to do that stunt, and it went like terribly wrong. So he was like in the hospital for like 4 or 5 months. So it kind of tells this like harrowing story about him going through that, and as he's going through that, his dad like told the hospital that he didn't want him to take like heavy pain medication because he didn't want him to get addicted to that, but just made the whole ordeal a lot more painful than probably it needed to be.
Yeah.
And also like how this hospital mismanaged his care, and he eventually went to a proper place that like saved him. So yeah, it was really good. I mean, this after it gets past this part, it kind of goes into him getting big and being in Friday the 13th, and he kind of talks about always being hurt about the fact that he actually didn't play Jason for the Freddy versus Jason movie, and that they had talked so much about that film, finally coming to fruition. So like for that to come out and then him to not be able to play it was pretty sad for him. So, but like towards the end, it kind of gets away from the story, which that's what I liked about the documentary, like hearing his backstory and more about the films that he was in, even post the ones that you think about. But like the Hatchet films, and I'm not a big fan of the first Hatchet. I haven't seen the other two, but and then it gets into the convention thing and everything, and how much he enjoys doing that. So it was still a fascinating documentary overall. So if you have Shudder, check it out.
Cool. I watched a couple of documentaries as well. The first one is probably my favorite. I think it would be the favorite thing that I watched this week, going back down the list of things I've seen. And it's actually based off of one of my favorite films. It was created by Fandom, the guys who do Screen Junkies and all that stuff. It's a documentary on Galaxy Quest, which is like the famous sci-fi kind of Trekkie ripoff sort of thing. It's about the fans and like, have you ever seen it?
No.
But yeah, it's basically like it's a comedy or dramedy about an aging, like an old TV show, right? A bunch of cast members that were on this TV show that's basically like Star Trek, and they're still doing the convention circuit, and everyone's just kind of like, this is all they ever did with their career. Like that's all everyone ever knows him for. And Tim Allen plays like the guy who played the captain on the show, and he still like loves it. Like he misses that, like being called the captain and all that stuff. So he still shows up at the conventions. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Alan Rickman's in it.
Yeah.
He plays as one of the aliens, Sigourney Weaver. It's one of the early Sam Rockwell films that he did. But it's just a really good documentary on like how good that movie is, like in terms of pop culture and how it's changed the view of how people look at nerds. Because before that, nerds were just always often looked at as like side characters, as jokes. And here it's really about like the fans who kind of carried the show, and in ways it kind of transformed how fans are. I mean, it's kind of put a spotlight on fans and how like they make the phenomenon of all the things that we watch, basically, you know. So it kind of explores that. And it's really funny because they talk about who they almost hired. They were originally saying like they wanted to get Mel Gibson to play him, Bruce Willis, because they were originally wanted like Harold Ramis almost directed it, but then he left it. Yeah, and they were like, when they actually were talking to Tim Allen, they were saying like, we don't actually want you. So he's like, why am I here? You know, and because like we want like an action hero to play comedy, and you're like a comedian to play an action hero. That's like weird for us. Like we don't know about that. And I also didn't know like Tim Allen is actually a very big sci-fi fan, which I think is very cool. Like he's a collector. Like he has like the original Robbie the Robots and like I forgot there's a bunch of other stuff. So it kind of makes sense why he's also Buzz Lightyear in a way, because it's just like it just fits his personality. So he really wanted to be in the film, and so he ended up getting the part. And a lot of people from the original Star Trek people are talking about how like this is us, this is what our life is like, you know, basically. Like a lot of them were talking about it. Like Patrick Stewart said he loved it. A lot of them saying like we should have made this movie, like the TV show cast should have made that into a movie. And they actually, I mean, like the movie itself was really well made because it was one of the first films that DreamWorks made. And originally, I think it was supposed to be like an R-rated kind of close or PG-13 film, and then they ended up changing it into a lighter film. And people were kind of pissed off about that, but at the same time, they're very happy with what came out. Like it's still really good. The production designer from that came from like the original Star Trek films and Blade Runner, so a lot of that stuff looked really, really good. Yeah, no, it's a really solid film. I think for anybody who likes Galaxy Quest, like sci-fi films and all that stuff, I love that movie. It's just, and that's also it's also really what I really like about it. It's like a really nice tribute to Alan Rickman, because I might have heard of it, but I don't think I remember it. It's like they had originally planned on making it into a TV show on Amazon, like bringing it back with all the original cast members, but then he passed away, and obviously they didn't go with it because he's a prime character. And they were just talking about it, like how he was just kind of like, he was never a fan of Tim Allen because Tim Allen would always make stupid fart jokes and all this, like just his comedic self. But he eventually kind of wore him out, and he like got to like him. And I remember once, I think there was a scene in it where he's like, Tim Allen's character is getting very emotional, and then he like kind of walks off the set after he finished. He's like, I got to go chill for a second. And they're like, holy shit, he was, you know, like that was really good. And then Alan Rickman's is like, it's because he's actually acting now. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. It was just really nuts because they were talking about how the last time they talked to him, he was saying he had a stroke, but it was actually because he was already like dying. But he just didn't want to freak people out, so he was just like, yeah, I just had this, and it's okay.
Kept it to himself, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean Justin Long was talking about it, so everyone just had really great stuff to talk about each other. It's a really well-made documentary, which is surprising in a way, but it's made by the people who started out that pop culture site, the Screen Junkies and all them. So it's pretty good. Like, so if you guys like that, I. Where
did you watch that on?
This is on Amazon.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's called Never Surrender. That's what, because that was their tagline: never give up, never surrender.
Yeah, I need to finish. Like I had started watching Galaxy Quest a few years ago, but I don't know why I stopped.
Don't like comedy.
I guess so, but I mean, I do. I don't know what it is with me. So the other day, like the night before I left, my mom was like, "Hey, you want to watch a movie with us?" And I'm like, "Oh," because like I was sad about the whole thing about having to leave, and I do miss them. But yeah, we watched Deja Vu with Denzel Washington.
Yeah, Denzel.
The Tony Scott film. Yeah, it was. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. So it's basically about like the film starts off with these bunch of sailors, bunch of Navy men and women on a ship, with like civilians as well. And so some terrorist attack happens, and the entire ship blows up and kills like all these fucking people. And so, eventually Denzel Washington comes on the scene. He works for the ATF. I forgot what the ATF stands for, but they cover a lot of things like narcotics and like terrorist attacks, and it's a bunch of stuff. So eventually he's investigating it, and he gets invited. Kind of, I'm gonna do a terrible job describing this, but he gets invited to like this like group of people who are doing this like hush hush shit, government stuff, where they're basically able to take like camera footage and audio and everything, and you could see, I forgot how long, you could see like 4 days into the past. So it's like you could see stuff play out as it happened, but like they could see this stuff, but you can't fast forward or rewind. You could just, so you have to make sure you're in the right place at the right time, looking at the right thing. So it's like conceptually, it's really fucking cool, and it's confusing because it's like super heady, like time travel stuff, which always like goes over my head. And eventually they introduce like multiverse stuff because obviously he wants to try to go back and like prevent this from happening, but it's like whatever happens is going to happen no matter what you do. The whole butterfly effect thing. So, which I don't know, maybe the butterfly effect's different than that, right?
No, that's a ripple effect. Like, what if you change something in the past, it'll fuck up the future.
Yeah. So I guess the opposite of that. It's like you can't prevent it from happening. But anyway, he gets like fixated on this one girl, like this body that they find, and she's kind of connected to it because the terrorist who was trying to, who needed a vehicle, kind of bought a vehicle from her. So it's really cool. There's this one sequence, they're in this, like center where they're using this technology, but they have like this fucking Humvee fixed with like a VR headset. So it's like he's chasing this guy. The terrorist is actually played by Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in Passion of the Christ. He's like chasing him down a highway, but he has the headset on. So the headset is basically showing him what's happening 4 days in the past. It's just really fucking cool idea.
I have to check it out. I mean, it's funny. It's funny, one of those films that I knew when it came out, but I don't think I ever saw it. And actually, now that you're explaining it to me, it kind of reminds me a lot of Duncan Jones's Source Code. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
I love Source Code. Yeah.
Yeah, Source Code's good. And it's also kind of giving me like the new film that's coming out, Tenet, with it's a Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah. I just saw the trailer for that.
Yeah, so kind of
really awesome.
I'm like, that's cool. And it's also funny because I think that's like I don't know how many films that they work together, but so far that sounds like there's two, because I think he also did Denzel and Tony Scott did Man on Fire together as well.
Yeah, and it's not like Tony Scott usually does like this really fucking very sporadic editing, and like very for me the movie's not that, like it's a really good looking movie and has really cool ideas.
Yeah.
What happened?
Where did you see it?
We watched it. I don't know. It was on HBO or something. Like my parents, like I walked downstairs and they were watching it, and they were like, "Oh, you want to rewind it?" Because we,
But it's funny that it's like a virtual reality type thing. Yeah. One of my favorite movies from like the 90s is a film that Denzel did that he just like kind of regrets doing, but he did it because supposedly his kids wanted him to do it. Which is also funny because his kid now is a movie star. He was in BlacKkKlansman, and
he's in Tenet, right?
Yeah, and he's in Tenet. Yeah. But it was Virtuosity with Russell Crowe. Do you remember that one?
I've never seen it, but no.
I love that movie. Yeah. It's like he regrets doing that film, but he did it because his kids thought it was fun. Like it's not like an interesting, and I'd like it because the technology back then was pretty awesome. But it's like funny, he comes back and he does another like virtual film, but that's more of
it's really cool. I mean, it has this creepy angle where like he's fixated on this woman who died.
Yeah.
And then he
eventually. That's why it reminded me of Source Code too, because he's like save that woman.
Yeah, but it's just weird because he's like twice her age. So.
Okay. Since we're on, I think this is the only other documentary I watched. This was on Canopy that I wanted to check out. It's called Barista. It's obviously about baristas. I thought it was going to be like kind of like pretentious or whatever, but I want to see it now, especially now that we're so into coffee. I'm like, maybe I should check it out and see what it's about. It's actually pretty interesting. It focuses on obviously like a couple of different baristas all over I would say all over the world. They're not all over the U.S. because they're all training to go to this competition that happens in Boston, the United Barista Championships or whatever. But like I think like 2 or 3 of them are actually from L.A. and it was actually very cool because it's like a lot of it took place in places that I go to, or like some of the places that I go to are run by champions of this competition, which I had no idea. Some of the videos that I sent you to learn how to French press is by one of the guys who was in that competition. But it's cool. It's just it goes about like what they go to train, like how they train, how they got into it, like why they do it. Some of them get really like technical into it, like all like the chemical process. Like somebody was clarifying it, and like what they get out of actually competing because they like they still only make like barely minimum wage, to make like something like they work on their craft so well, but at the same time they're only getting paid like basically nothing. And how each one has different things going on in their lives and just kind of like preparing for it. It was pretty good. I mean, it's like despite the fact that it kind of seems like it would come off as boring or like self-centered in a way, it's not. It's just like it's really interesting. Some of them obviously look like, I mean, a lot of them look like straight up hipsters, but it's still cool. It just talks about how baristas come from all walks of life basically, and at the end they actually go to the competition. I think it talks about how like normally those like this person's doing this now and this person's doing that, so it's pretty interesting. I liked it. Pretty kind of like simple watching fare, I guess. Just kind of chill out and watch something without having to get too emotionally attached to it. Like, oh my god, this is so serious. Like other stuff we watch,
Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted actually to be a barista.
I know, and that's why I kind of brought it up. Like, I'm like, you should probably watch this one because they might find it interesting.
I mean, I made some drinks when I worked at Pachugo, but like all of it was automated, so I wasn't like pulling shots and all that stuff. But it's definitely something cool like I want to.
They talk about coming from that sort of background and sense, in the sense where they were just kind of like some of them even worked at Starbucks, and they're like, like people will be like, this is the best coffee. And they're like, what are you talking about? Coffees all taste the same. And then now they're there competing, trying to make some weird shit, like happen. Like like the competition is really crazy because they do stuff like looks like stuff you would see like on Anthony Bourdain or these weird cooking shows. Because they're like, they actually have to give a presentation and be like, you're going to taste these flavors and this, and you're going to put this a little bit here and try this. And it's like, holy shit, like I just want a cup of coffee. I don't got all this stuff. But it is interesting. So I saw it on Canopy. I don't know where else it could be. I'm sure you could find it.
Yeah, I'll look into it because, I've always been fascinated with the barista culture. And always, I mean, I actually intend to because, like, I want to get a side gig, and I kind of had the idea of, like, I want to do something or just, like, learn how to do something I haven't done before. So
I always
feel like is one of those things.
I guess it would be considered becoming a poser because I was always the same way where I'm like, I just want to do it and learn it and then just leave. Like I don't
I just want to have.
But I know people would be like, you're not actually here to be a part of it. But I just wanted to learn. I wanted to see what it was like. I did it, and that's kind of how I am with the ceramics right now. Like I want to get
like a lot of that type of job is not like long term. So it's like get in there. I mean, for some people it is.
Don't say that around.
For some people it is. But not unless you want to open your own shop. So. All right. Well, I watched a horror film called The Lodge, which that's on Hulu
I haven't
currently. So after I watched, I kind of looked into it. It's from a director. I didn't get their name, but the same person who directed Goodnight Mommy, which is a foreign horror film, which was pretty creepy. I didn't love it, but it definitely has a huge cult following. That film. But yeah, this one's about it. Alicia Silverstone is in it for a second. I don't want to spoil what happens there, but it's basically about this married couple, and they have 2 kids, but they're like co-parenting. They're not really together, but they haven't really gotten into a divorce. So eventually something happens in regards to the divorce, and so the dad is kind of the dad has a new boo and is trying to get his like kids to kind of warm up to her. But they don't want to. So, they decide to take this getaway for Christmas, just to get away and stay in this lodge. But, at some point, the dad goes away to work and leaves them there with the lady. Not the stepmom, technically, because they're not married. They're planning on getting married. So it's just like crazy shit starts happening from there. It's like obviously these two groups, people don't trust each other, and like just weird stuff starts happening. Like they wake up one night and all of their belongings are gone, and like all the food's gone, and they're snowed in, so it's like they're gonna fucking starve to death. So it's like it's a pretty crazy movie, but it's like it's really slow.
Is it supernatural or is it like just kind of like
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it, but it's like you're not sure if the kids are doing this to make the lady go crazy, or if it's the lady who they kind of hint at that she had some like mental health issues in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of just if you've seen Goodnight Mommy, it's similar to that because Goodnight Mommy is about these two kids and their mom has like this really horrific accident and comes home and her face is all bandaged up like a mummy. So it's like they don't
know if it's her.
They don't know if it's her. They don't think they're like this is not my mom,
That's
so they
cool.
just kind of like
Yeah.
are freaking out and terrorizing her because they don't think she's who she says she is.
Right.
So it's kind of like that same idea of like they're not.
So it turns out the dad did it.
No. You have to watch. I mean, the movie it's very pretty to look at. Like the cinematography is great. But the thing is it's a slow burn. Like there's movies that just but like it never kind of gets out of that gear. It's a slow burn throughout the entire film.
Sure. It looked interesting.
Yeah.
I want to actually ask you this really quick because you're more in tune with a lot of the genre. There was this film that came out, I think either this year or last year, and it was similar to The Lodge, but it took place in like it was like the frontier, like a woman by herself, and she was with her kids, and she's like in the middle of nowhere, but like in the frontier, or maybe it wasn't even about supernatural stuff. Maybe it was just her and somebody's trying to harass her, and because I remember she had like a shotgun.
Yeah, Nightingale, I think it was called.
Oh, I think that's what it is. Yeah,
I haven't seen that one.
It is a horror one, right? Or something.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I think it's kind of like a rape revenge film.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I mean, I remember like when they were showing trailers for it. There's a lot of stuff obviously that's been coming out lately that I want to catch, but obviously we can't.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the trailer for it, and this is getting off topic really quick, but it's called Deerskin, which is.
I haven't.
Have you seen the trailer for it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's with the guy Jean Dujardin, who was in The Artist, and he also was, and he did all like the James Bond spoof films called OSS 17. And he basically, somebody gives him like this leather suede deer skin with the frills like that. And so he starts filming himself doing shit with it. And then somebody, like some girl watches him do it. It's like, I really like your video. So he starts doing crazier shit just in the jacket. He thinks like it's the jacket that's making him cool. And it's just like a really trippy kind of film. Like I really want to see it. It's an independent film. It's not out yet, but that's now that we're on that kick. But since we're talking about horror really quick, I do want to mention that I didn't see it this week. I forgot that I saw it last week. The Lighthouse, which is by the guy who directed The Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really care for The Witch. I thought that was really boring, slow.
I love The Witch. I mean, I need to see it again because I only saw The Witch the one time, and it's hard to understand what they're saying.
Right.
They're talking in like old English.
Yeah, which I liked. I mean, I like the setting and all.
Yeah, I like.
But and I do.
I heard the Lighthouse is a similar thing, right? They talk really oddly.
But I really like it because of how close quarters it is. It gives you that sense of claustrophobia. I think one of our viewers here, we were talking about how it's very Buñuel, very Freudian. It's just like the style of the way it's shot and like the close-ups and the weird contrasty, like, just grain of it. And then the story, like I had to read into it. Like, what does this mean? Is it like about like the myths from the old sailors, like real? Like, is it like has to do with like the gods? And they do talk about like the Greek gods and how it has like similarities into what they're doing and how like at the end, how it ends. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it's very similar to how one of the gods in Greek mythology ends up. So there's like this really cool reference to that kind of stuff. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I don't want to say it here because if anybody hasn't seen it, but I think that the ending did get spoiled for me. I'm not sure. Like,
it got
for
spoiled.
certain, but I think I know what happens.
Like, I kind of figure when I see these type of films, I always assume that they're gonna die. Like no, like when the way that the premise they show this trailer, it's like two people stuck in a lighthouse and weird shit happens. I'm like, they're gonna end up dead. That's all that's gonna happen, or one guy's gonna survive and he's gonna go nuts. All right, and that's just the formula of it. It's just how you make that new, right? So, but I thought it was pretty good. So yeah,
I had to get around to that one. I'm ashamed to say I haven't. I didn't see it. So
You haven't seen Lighthouse?
no, Lighthouse or even like you mentioned when you mentioned Nightingale, that movie is by the same lady who directed Babadook. So like that's one I wanted to get around to as
That's
well.
why
But
I like Babadook.
yeah.
I like that one a lot. You want to take the next one real quick?
Yeah, so I've watched Swingers. I want to show it to Christina. I didn't
Love
think she
that
would like it
movie.
because I know it's a very bro film.
Yeah,
But
I love.
I love Swingers. I did refer to it as like my favorite comedy ever. It's not anymore. I still love Swingers, but like there's other movies that I prefer
Yeah,
as far as comedies. Like I know it's like kind of like basic to just like Big Lebowski as much as everybody loves Big Lebowski, but Big
for sure.
Lebowski is like amazing. So I think that might be my top dog as far as comedies are concerned. But yeah, I mean, I still like that movie. I like obviously there's stuff to relate to there about trying to get over your ex and stuff like that. And so like
Mhm.
I've always even before I went through all that kind of stuff in my personal life, like I saw the movie way before that, and I still found was able to relate to that aspect of the story
For sure.
prior to that. But there's little things that don't age that well. John Favreau refers to women as skinks quite a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He says that word a lot, like in the
It's
first
kind of
half hour of the
cringy
movie.
after watching again. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's this whole section where they're hanging out in the one dude's apartment, and uh, Vince Vaughn and the other guy, it's like they're playing hockey, and they order some food,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's like an Indian delivery man, and they call him like a brown guy, and they refer to him
Well,
as
they're guessing. We're like, is he a brown guy? Is he a
is he
brown guy?
brown? Is he? I mean, which that part's funny, but it's very
It is.
offensive at
Yeah.
the same time because they refer to the guy as Pink Dot, which is fucked up. I'm like, why do you refer to him as Pink Dot? I'm like, oh yeah, because of the forehead thing. Yeah, but I mean, I still love the movie. The parts of the film that I never really liked, there's this conversation they have about Scorsese and that scene in Goodfellas where they walk through the restaurant and then
Mhm.
the one guy brings up Tarantino, and I kind of like how they do a dig on Tarantino. It's like that motherfucker steals from everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but then like throughout the film, they're like that very next scene, they emulate the Reservoir Dogs shot
Yeah.
where they're
That's
walking
the whole
through it. It's
point.
like I
That's the
hate it, all that stuff. Like I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this is so cheesy, and later on in the film they emulate that Goodfellas scene where they're walking through the back of the club, and
Yeah.
I'm like this is so corny. But I love that movie. It has so many great characters,
No,
and eventually it has this whole beautiful like romantic angle to it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Which is
yeah.
not the biggest thing about it, but I think part of the whole thing of him being a sad sack, like
Hmm.
kind of pining over this girl, kind of it kind of like, oh, like hurry up, let's get over this thing.
Uh,
But I get it because I've been there too, when you're just kind
yeah.
of annoying to your friends because you're so busted over somebody.
Hmm.
But I think it resonated with me a lot because of the fact that I had just moved out to LA. I mean, that movie came out way before I moved out,
Yeah.
but I mean, I was doing the same thing with my buddies, and
Yeah. I mean, I never really did that like whole swinging. Like it's
no,
not
I mean, we
swinging.
didn't go,
It's not
we
the
didn't do
perverted name
swing
of
stuff.
swingers. It's just
Yeah, yeah, no, I
people
just mean
of the
like, I
same
mean like
life.
they went to the same places that I go to. Like they went
Yeah.
the Brown Derby, which is no longer there. It's a Chase Bank now, but I remember going to that
Uh,
place. The Dresden is still around. It's still a very classic place that they talk about a
yeah, the
lot.
Dresden out. Is that where the band is playing? The Staying Alive?
Yeah, yeah. They're
I
they're they're
I
famous.
would like to go to that place if I
They're
ever
famous for that.
come
Yeah,
out there and visit, like I
yeah,
said I
dude,
would.
it's great. But yeah, so like a lot of that stuff is just really. I mean, I don't really care about the whole swinging stuff and all that other whatever that culture of it. But it's just funny because seeing like their actors, like, hey, I could have been Goofy, or I could have been this. So
Yeah,
yeah,
speaking of that, like
I'm
I
a big
went,
fan of Favreau. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of Favreau. I think Vince Vaughn is so great. It's like there was so much improvising, I guess, with this
yeah,
movie and with Made as well, and you could tell, and it's just fucking hilarious. Uh, what were we saying? Yeah, the goofy part, like years ago I'd went to Logan Theater for trivia night, and that was one of the questions, like what was the character? And I got so excited and I put Pluto, and I felt like such an idiot because like Swingers is my jam. Like I've seen that movie so many times and I got the fucking question wrong because I got way too overzealous, and
yeah.
I said Pluto, but it's Goofy.
I will say that I like almost all the films that he does and he's in. And I don't know if you ever saw his follow up called Made.
Yeah.
And Vince Vaughn and Peter Falk. I would say that it's not as good watching it again because Vince Vaughn is just too fucking annoying that I just get
I
over it.
remember I've only seen Made once, and I remember not. Yeah, thinking it was over the top.
Yeah, it's too much.
Sure.
Speaking of other comedies, I'm just gonna run through a couple. I finally watched The Hustle, which is a remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. It was the newest one that came out with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. And I was actually pumped for this one because I was like, cool, they're turning it on its head. It's two women going out there like tricking all the rich guys, and I love Anne Hathaway. The movie's a dud. I thought it would be funny. It's just not. It's not that good. It's just Rebel Wilson is too much, as well as I mean, she plays herself in a lot of these.
She's
films.
never like. I mean, she was good in Knocked Up. I mean, I like Rebel Wilson just because I find her attractive. But yeah, as far as like in movies, she always plays the same character. I thought
this was cool because she played like kind of like that Steve Martin bit pretty decently, I guess, in a way, like in her own way. But it just wasn't funny. I really like the scenes. I mean, any film that takes place in the like in the French Riviera or somewhere in Europe, I love it. I thought the outfits were awesome. Everything that Anne Hathaway was wearing looked amazing. I'm just that guy because I just like seeing aesthetically pleasing shots and stuff. But overall, thought it was horrible. Really quick, I'm just gonna jump over to. They just released Lovebirds, which is the Camille Nanjiani and Issa Rae film that was supposed to be out in theaters, but it didn't, so they just released it on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I was really kind of excited for this one too, and it was okay. It wasn't that amazing. I mean, it's a typical like these two were together, now they're kind of not really, and then they go through this entire adventure together and still end up together, sort of thing. It's a formula. I'm not spoiling it for anybody. It's just the typical formula of like. It's like the Steve Carell and Tina Fey film, which is called Date Night. And Date Night, it's like they're married, they're kind of used to each other, they go on a date night, they have this crazy adventure, and then they become so much close again. It's just like,
Have I seen Date Night? I don't even know.
That's a comedy, so probably not.
Is Amy Poehler in that?
I don't think so. No, you're probably thinking of Sisters.
Yeah, Sisters is good. I liked Sisters.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because they do have some decent jokes, but overall, it's just like, I mean, like, I would have seen it in the theater, and I would have felt the same way. But I'm glad it's on Netflix. Anybody want to watch it? It's funny. Like, I think I mentioned last week that I watched the David Spade film that's on Netflix. It was a Netflix only film. If you like David Spade, if you're just kind of used to those films, just watch it. If you like Camille Nanjiani, you should watch his stuff too. It's pretty funny.
Nothing against Camille Nanjiani. I don't think I like him.
I don't really like him either. I don't like him as a lead. Maybe I just kind of think of him as a side character. I think he's too much sometimes, but he's actually pretty funny in this. He's not as over the top. But he was also very good in The Big Sick, the film that he wrote with his girlfriend or his wife.
Yeah, I need to see that one. I kind of avoided it for a while because I know how emotional it is.
Yeah. And it's funny because I had seen them do their podcast, The Indoor Kids, at Meltdown Comics, and I met them there because you just go there and watch them do the podcast. So I didn't even know anything about that stuff. You never really know.
Yeah, he was on. I listened to Dak Shepard's podcast, Armchair Expert, and him, Camille, and Rob McElhenney. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They were on it. What?
That's how you say his name. I
don't know. I'm gonna say McElhenney. I don't know if that's correct or not, but they were on it, and so like getting to know him on like a more personal level was cool, and they're talking about their workout regimen because he got pretty fucking jacked for the Eternals, so they talked about that, and
yeah.
But
you can kind of see if you watch Silicon Valley, he looks very pumped in that last season. Like you can just tell like he was getting to that point.
Yeah. Okay, so last one for me. I saw a horror film called One Cut of the Dead, which I had been wanting to get around to because I heard it was really good. I heard it just goes to it takes a turn. So it's basically a movie about there's a film crew making a zombie film, and then eventually real zombies like attack the set of the film. Which is cool enough, but then the movie takes a turn. So like like the whole first half hour, like that's such a cool idea, and there's a lot of like, I mean, there's moments that are really weird because it's a Japanese film. Sorry, I should have started with that. Mm-hmm. So like there's all these like weird like zany offbeat parts, and it's just very Japanese. But some of it I wasn't liking. I'm like I don't know, like why is this actress screaming for so long? why are they having this odd conversation? So like, I don't want to spoil it because I definitely think you should check it out. I think you'll like it a lot, and I'll give you my Shutter login if you'd like. But yeah, it takes a turn.
You heard it, guys. He's gonna give us all
Yeah.
his login so we can all see it.
It like takes a turn and it becomes something else. And so all of this stuff that I was like, as I'm watching the film, because it's hard not to be in this mind frame, but whenever you're like doing a podcast where you're going to have to talk about movies or whatever, you kind of think about, okay, this is what I'm going to say. These are the talking points.
Right.
And I don't like doing that because sometimes it affects my the experience of watching the thing. I just want to be in it. So, okay. But yeah, so like there was aspects where I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but then when this turn happens, like the film eventually gives context to all of this, and it's incredibly clever. It makes the experience a lot more fulfilling, and it actually has some heart to it. So like I don't want to spoil it because that's the whole idea of the film. And actually, like I don't think this spoils it too much or really at all, but they did a follow up on YouTube because I guess the producers went to the director of the film and said, "Hey, we want you to do like a quarantine edition version of One Cut of the Dead." So on YouTube, they have a 30-minute follow-up film that they like filmed in their houses, like on their cell phones and stuff like that. So
cool. Is it for free?
That's completely free on YouTube. But if you have Shudder, you could watch the actual movie. It's like an hour and a half. But yeah, highly recommend it. I know, I listened to some horror podcasts and it was definitely showing up at the top of people's lists. So highly recommend it for horror fans for sure.
Cool. So I only have like 3 more, but I'm going to bunch them up together. I watched Seberg, which is about the film actress Jean Seberg, who was very famous for being in, I think it was Truffaut's films.
Okay.
But it's about her time during when she kind of got blacklisted by the FBI, sort of thing. Like they were just kind of, she was very much heavily involved in activism, and she got involved with like the Black Panther movement. Mm-hmm. And basically she was one of the very first people who got targeted by the FBI and the counterintelligence division. That kind of, like bugged you all over the place in your house.
Yeah.
What they were up to. And it's a very boring film. I mean, it's with Kristen Stewart. She plays the actress. And it's a good film in the sense like everyone's playing really good parts. Like Anthony Mackie's in it. Vince Vaughn's in it, like as a side character. He's barely in it, but he's in it as just like a kind of another agent that they're bugging people. And it just basically shows how that level of like intrusion kind of affected her and ruined her career. Like she never really got to make any more films after that. And then she eventually committed suicide. Supposedly she committed suicide. They found her in a car somewhere. That's still the story to this day. Like people just said like, oh, that was a suicide, but it could be that, someone actually killed her or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it just goes to show like the kind of lengths that the government went to just kind of keep track of all these people because they just deemed as like enemies of the state,
Yeah.
And the other film that I watched is very similar to that. Is called Trumbo, which is about the famous screenwriter Dalton Trumbo, who what's his name? Bryan Cranston played him, and it was actually a Jay Roach film, but I did not know that Jay Roach directed this movie because we all know him doing a lot of the other kind of Austin Powers and all this other stuff. So so it's very light in the sense like of how he directs it, but it's actually a really good film. It's entertaining. Supposedly it's not as accurate as it could be, but it's about how Trumbo was a communist and how he was part of the Communist Party with a lot of friends during the Hollywood days, like the early Hollywood years, right after, I think, World War II. Mm-hmm. And they had like a lot of good performances, good actors. It's kind of funny seeing Louis C.K. I was like, he just popped out like, oh shit, movie. But it's obviously very historic. Talks about all the shit he had to go through. He went to jail, obviously, and how he had I didn't know he wrote certain films because I don't follow like film history that much. Obviously, this is well known to a lot of the community, but he wrote a lot of famous films. Like he wrote Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn and I can't remember his name. Gregory Peck.
Okay.
Like apparently, like he submitted it to his friend to do it because he was blacklisted. So he said, I wrote the script, but put your name on it. And like when they gave the other guy the award, the guy was trying to give him the Oscar. He's like, but your name's on it and I don't want it. So it just goes through like that and how he worked for like really shitty filmmakers just to make money, like producing really crappy scripts. And then he was using a bunch of other people, how he got his family involved. So it was a pretty entertaining film for 2 hours. It kind of went by fast. So I thought it was pretty good. If you like that kind of history in film and cinema, it's actually very interesting. And then the last thing that I didn't get to finish because I thought it was just too boring is The Goldfinch, which is kind of like it was a big film when it came out. With Nicole Kidman. What's that? Ansel Englert?
Yeah, Baby Driver, dude.
Huh? Yeah.
Baby Driver.
Yeah. And the kid from Stranger Things, Finn Wolfhard.
Okay.
Like all of a sudden he's like a badass now, like and everything.
That douchebag.
Yeah, basically. I'm sorry.
I'm just jealous because he's telling it.
And it's about a kid who loses his mom in an explosion. It's based off a book, and he loses his mom in an explosion at the museum, and a bunch of people died at that thing, and he's like one of the survivors. Apparently, he steals a painting that fell off the wall. He took it with him, and everyone thinks it got destroyed. And the idea is very interesting. Like I read the book's synopsis, and I'm like, this sounds like a really good story. Because basically he steals it and he kind of falls into the underground world of art dealing and counterfeits and shit like that. But it's very slow, very kind of fragmented. The actors are really good, but they're boring. Jeffrey Wright's in it, as he's the one who runs an antique store. I like how he dresses. And it's just about a lot of rich people stuff. Kind of just I just lost interest. I was like, maybe I'll finish it. I don't know. I don't really care. I heard good things about it in the beginning before it came out, and then I think ultimately it was panned in the critics. So
when did that come out? Like that was recent, or?
Yeah, it was very recent. I think it came out this year, either if not earlier this year, maybe just late last year. Yeah, it's called The Goldfinch. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much our week, right? That's all you watched. I mean I think we watched a lot of stuff. I definitely try to make up for last week, and I'm going to continue to do so. I mean,
I thought I was having a bad week. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's like I'm just dying to watch more stuff on Canopy, but I still don't have my tokens. Gotta wait until June to refill my I don't understand. It's a free service. Why do I have to wait? Like I have like 10 tokens to use on movies. I don't understand. I don't know if that's just to curb people streaming. Maybe they can't handle it. That's probably it.
Like the bandwidth or whatnot?
Yeah. I think it's kind of making sure no one goes nuts like on Netflix or something. And it makes sense. It's only films. There's no TV series or anything like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I got back to BoJack, so I'm gonna do that this week and at least watch the 5th season, hopefully, because it's been like a week and a half since I watched it. I was gonna turn it on yesterday, but I ended up not doing.
Yeah, so. and I keep intending to watch more of the Midnight Gospel as well. So
yeah, I haven't watched that either.
I don't know what else has been showing up on Netflix. I think I was starting to rewatch something else and I didn't see it. So yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that I haven't watched yet, but there's always going to be an endless amount, and you'll hear about it next week. Once again, thank you for watching. You can follow us on Instagram. Obviously, this is on YouTube right now. If you're watching it here, I'm watching it on the screen. If you're watching here, you're watching us live on Instagram. But it's also on YouTube. You can see us on Instagram at Oh My Wad. Also, he is Boy Decide. I am Abaddon Arcade. Also, Hip Arcade, which is the shop where you can check out all the cool pop culture stuff that I do and produce. Check out the website for all the cool like Parappa stuff and all the other stuff that I wear. Like a lot of the shirts that I wear on the stream sometime, or not on the stream, but on the other episodes. It's all stuff that I got off of that site for the most part. Because I like to make stuff that I can wear. And yeah. Any last remarks?
No, that's it. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for sticking with us. Obviously, it's a little bit longer than normally it is, but as always, keep listening, keep watching, and keep doing what you do. Just do more of it.
We'll see you next time. See you guys.